Hi everyone, welcome to Fintech Talks with TFN. I am Akansha Dimri, the founder and editor of TFN, and today we are in the day 2 of IFGS 2024 in the prestigious Guildhall in London, and we are taking this opportunity to talk to Antler's investor, which is Sarah Finegan. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity and also your time. So very quickly, could you introduce yourself to us and also about your journey, and also what does Antler do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me again. So I guess a little bit on me. My name is Sarah and I'm an investor with Antler based in London. Antler is a global early stage venture capital firm. We've got quite a significant global footprint, so we're in 27 locations all across the world. And the uniqueness of what we do is twofold. So one, the stage that we invest, and two, the level of professionalism that's provided at that stage. So we essentially work with entrepreneurs from the moment that they decide that they want to build something. I guess in terms of my background, so I have broad experience across finance, early stage tech and VC. I started my career working in investment banking, so worked for some of the large financial institutions like Goldman Sachs and HSBC, and was very lucky to work all across the world. So worked in London and in New York and in Hong Kong.
And how long has been your experience like now? How many years?
So I actually decided after, during my career at Goldman's, to go back and study, and I used that as an opportunity actually to co-found my own business. Directly after that, have almost exclusively been working in the early stage tech space. So I think post MBA, actually coming out of a very institutionalized background, I realized that I needed to kind of build my operating experience and did absolutely everything in my power to get in front of entrepreneurs to really build that operating experience.
That's perfect. And Antler has been that early stage VC which has been quite popular and also leading and making a lot of efforts to support the early stage startups in Europe and UK. And I just want to understand, how do you see in fintech as a space? How many investments do you make? Is it something on your radar or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So you might have seen that Antler is actually now one of the most active private early stage investors, definitely in Europe, but also across the world. I think one of few private investors that are actually going to increase the number of investments, particularly in Europe. So in 2024, as we look further ahead, we're going to be making many more investments and doubling down on the talent that we're seeing in Europe. I think on the fintech side, absolutely, we have this highly diversified fund strategy. So we're investing across a number of different types of industries. If you look at the UK alone, we've backed 35 industries, and fintech is just one of those. So really seeing some really exciting individuals and founders that are coming away from kind of like that fintech background, identifying specific problems to be solved and then going out to really tackle them.
Yeah, and as far as I know, today was a big announcement with Antler made exclusively with Tech Funding News. And would you like to talk about that? And I think there was a fintech company involved in that investment as well.
You're absolutely right. We probably had the highest concentration of fintech teams that we've seen since launching a number of years ago in the UK. But absolutely, we announced that we've made investments and backed a number of exciting teams in our last residency, which happened in Q4 of last year. We've backed them and we've invested $1 million across all of those. We've also, separate to the teams that we've backed in the residencies, also backed a separate team that we've directly invested in, so a team that is unrelated to the residency.
And how many startups did you invest in this fund?
Yeah, absolutely. So you would have seen that Tech Funding News have published an announcement that we've backed 9 teams. So 8 of those are teams that emerged through our residency, and 1 separate to that, so on the direct investment side, that we've backed, and that's a climate tech team.
That's wonderful. And how did you select these startups? They were part of your residency, and was there a diversity angle considered? Was there a valuation angle considered? What is going in an investor mind such as Antler when selecting these particular tech startups?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if you look at the time before the residency, we've received about 1,100 applications, and of those we selected 60 plus founders to join us on our residency. We work with them over the course of 10 weeks, and we really double down and kind of invite the most compelling teams that we have high conviction in to the investment committee, and then after that we decide on who we invest into. So we've of the residency of the cohort itself, we have about 24-25% women founders.
As an investor, what patterns do you see in the landscape of technology investments? Like also with so much AI coming in, and it's kind of a buzzword which is seeking interest of the investors. And when you look at AI, Fintech, what is going on in an investor mind right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess with the emergence of this new technology, we are seeing a number of our founders actually leveraging it to solve some really, really important kind of problems in the world and across industries as well. I think if you look and if you reference the last residency that we ran, I would say probably 90% of the teams that were using AI in some way to solve for those problems.
So what do you see as the next generation of opportunities in fintech and gets you most excited about, for example, payment, lending, crypto, embedded finance? Talking about this field, what do you think as an investor would attract you more, or you would like to explore that particular category?
Yeah, so I think there's probably a number of things that you've just mentioned there where we get particularly excited about. If you look at the Antler portfolio in the UK alone, we have quite a decent proportion of our portfolio companies that are operating in the fintech space. So again, Mass, for instance, they are turbocharging mortgages, get really, really excited about that kind of space. In terms of others, we have DSTA, so they're creating efficiencies in InsurTech as well. So traditionally quite archaic and kind of legacy industry, so really, really solving problems in that space. But I think crypto, we have kind of moved away from crypto. There's definitely a crypto winter happening at the moment, so we're not heavily investing into that space.
My next question is, because we are into diversity so much as a brand, so it's very much related to diversity and inclusion. So how impactful is DE&I for driving change within the investment firm itself, like Antler? What do you think?
Yeah, I think diversity and inclusion is very much one of the priorities at Antler. We fully believe in the investment case for diverse teams. And I think if anyone knows me in the VC industry, they will know that I'm personally very passionate about levelling the playing field and I guess providing additional support, mentorship and ultimately opportunities to underrepresented groups, which include female founders and LGBTQ plus.
Yeah. That's great. That's fantastic. And coming to you as a person as well, how would you describe that moment when you actually decided that you want to become a VC after doing so many different jobs?
Yeah. A jack of all trades. Yeah, I think I was probably a series of a number of kind of like life experiences. I think I have always had this like unrelenting desire to do something exciting and rewarding in my life, and that just happened to be VC. I think the moment before I decided to move into VC, it was actually co-founding my own business. So I started a microfinancing business a number of years ago. Never fully launched it, unfortunately, but my co-founders and I often look back on that experience, and we look really, really favorably upon it. But I guess that experience in itself was definitely one of the most fulfilling and exciting kind of parts of my professional career. I think having exposure to other founders, working with, I guess, people that are solving really, really exciting problems really gives me the energy to do the work that I do. So I think working in an environment where I'm exposed to founders that are solving those problems in the world is incredibly fulfilling.
That's true. You need that support as well. And but I'm sure it was not there from the very first day. So what were some of the early challenges you faced as a female VC?
Yeah, so I think there's probably a couple of challenges that I faced, like moving into the industry that everyone often kind of like encounters.
I really want this to be coming from the heart.
Absolutely. So I think I think moving into VC, I realized very, very early on that my network was not as strong as I could have been, and that is, relevant to founders, but also the investors that I was ultimately going to be speaking to. So I actually spent a significant amount of time trying to build a really, really strong circle of founders where I could both get operational experience, but also on the investor side, really trying to build my network on that side so I could ultimately become helpful to both. And it takes time, it takes a lot of hard work, but I think over the course of kind of 12, 18 months that really, really benefited me, and a lot of the people that I speak to now are people that I would have built kind of relationships with a long time ago.
So what are some of the valuable lessons that you would like to share with other wannabe female entrepreneurs in tech in the UK and Europe market? Some lessons which are really important that everyone should know. Even as a founder, I would love to listen to you on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am very, very, very lucky to work with some incredible founders, both in the UK and across Europe. And I think there are kind of many challenges that I typically see in the early stages of kind of entrepreneurship and their journey with founding. And it's also to one of the biggest things that you can do is really to kind of build that network that I spoke about a couple of minutes ago, and that is both on the founding side, so your peer group, but then also on the kind of the communities, networks, and fund side as well. Luckily speaking, there are a number of really exciting communities and networks out there that are providing support, that actively want to kind of help and assist founders. And then I guess on the fund side as well, Antler is a perfect example. There are funds out there that want to start allocating more to kind of diverse founding teams as well. Yeah.
So yes, my last question to you, Sarah, are there any resources or helpful podcasts or even books that you would like to recommend to people who want to be the VCs or anything about anyone in the industry? It would be great.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to do a shameless plug here and shout out to the podcast that I run with two amazing ladies from Isomer Capital. The podcast is called At the Cap Table, and it is one of the proudest things I've ever been involved in since actually across my career. And it aims to kind of spotlight the leading female investors all across Europe. So we get to hear from emerging managers, established funds, family offices, ex-operators, angel turned VCs, and we're hoping to do many more this year. So would love to give a shout out to the podcast.
It's okay. I hope you get some subscription for that one. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us and giving us your time. And thank you so much to our readers for joining us, and also Sarah and listening. And if you want to listen to more insightful conversations which are taking place at IGF 2024, stay tuned to TFN. Thank you.